Welcome to Doing the Work, Frontline Stories of Social Change, where we bring you stories of real people working to address real issues. I am your host, Shimon Cohen. Thank you to FIU's Disability Resource Center for providing transcription services. In this episode, I talk with Tre King, who is a mental health coordinator in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Tre explains how he is one of 65 mental health coordinators in the school district's Department of Mental Health Services, and that he and his colleagues each serve 5 schools of various grade levels. We talk about the issues affecting students and how Tre works with them. Tre discusses what it is like to work within the same school district he attended, in his own community, and how he sees himself in his students. We explore how marginalized and oppressed communities are talked about in social work classrooms and the profession versus Tre's reality of his own background and current social work practice. Tre talks about trainings he's done in the community, such as mental health first aid. Tre also shares how he got into this work. I hope this conversation inspires you to action. Hey, Tre, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. To get things started, could you just let us know what you currently do?
Hey, Shimon, thank you so much for having me. So let's just start. So again, like Shimon said, my name is Tre King. I work for Miami-Dade County Public Schools as a mental health coordinator. In that job, I just want to say first, it started from the Stoneman Douglas incident that occurred. So we were funded basically like a lot of money, and where we developed a department within Miami-Dade County Public Schools known as the Mental Health Services Department. And so far, it's about our second year, we have been providing mental health services throughout Miami-Dade County. A lot of services, and I'll get into that throughout the interview.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you mentioned, how the department and your position was even created through legislation based on the Parkland shooting.
Yes. And
legislation at the state level that directed funding that could be used for mental health services, correct?
Definitely. And it's kind of like a little bit of like a bittersweet, because it took something like that to occur for so much attention to be brought to just mental health within, this big like scale. But from it, a lot of students within Miami-Dade County Public Schools have been being provided services, and whether it's family counseling, individual counseling, group like therapy and things like that. It's just a lot of services are being provided daily, and it's turning out to a great thing.
Yeah. So, just so listeners know, because this episode will go live in May, but We're recording in the end of March, early April right now. And, we're on stay at home, coronavirus safety protocols. So just want to put that out there. Hope people are doing all right. So I want to ask you a question about like what a typical day would be like for you, but a typical day, pre-coronavirus. And then maybe we'll kind of talk about where things are heading now. But, like before all this happened and we're in this situation, what would a typical day look like for you, as a mental health coordinator in Miami-Dade County Public Schools?
Yeah, no problem. So first of all, as mental health coordinators, initially when we first started, it was 30 of us. It was 30 mental health coordinators, and we all had 5 schools. So we have now it's 60 of them. I think it's 65 of us now. Now it's like every one of us has at least 5 schools. So each day we go to a different school. And so a normal day would look like we'll go in, we usually meet with other health professionals within the school, such as the AP, the principal, the school social worker, the school counselor that's there. And we would, just discuss, hey, how's things been? Just have it, like kind of like a staffing, a brief staffing, just to get an update on certain students, any basically need to know information that has occurred, because we're only there one day out of the week. And so we'll kind of get like a briefing of what's going on. And from there, we would see our students. We would see those students that we would provide services for. And that's pretty much it. Monday through Friday.
And you're going to different schools, right? You've got like an elementary school, a middle school, high school.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. Well, all of us, we're all everywhere. All of us, all 65 of us, we're everywhere. We have different, the central, north, south area. We're everywhere, and we're just trying our best to reach those students that really need support. Definitely really need support. Basically every single day.
How many students will you meet with in a typical day?
Oh man, I think that depends. So let's say, for example, my Friday school, I try my best to meet with all of my students because certain schools have more needs than other schools. So let's say, for example, when I'm at my Friday school, I kind of see those students every day on Friday, and I know certain needs. So I'll probably see like 10 kids or 15 kids, versus other schools have a lesser need. That'll probably be like 7. That'll probably be like 6. But it all depends, because referrals are always coming in. Students are always needing services, whether it's concerns, whether anxiety, depression, a lot of different concerns regarding mental health. You know what I mean? So it's just, we're always in the trenches. It's like we're always in the trenches.
Do you tend to notice like patterns of what the issues are that come up? Does it seem, or is it just kind of you see everything?
I think over time we will definitely, once we gain a certain level of rapport with the student and we get to have that level of relationship, we notice certain things. But there is a similarity to all students in a sense regarding what's going on at home. You know what I mean? What are some things that are happening at home? Maybe certain level of trauma is another big one. Some similarities like that. Some to all have experienced some level of trauma, some significant experience with a lot of trauma, and usually that's kind of how the concerns occur, and they start, and then over time they build up from a lack of coping skills and things like that. And during our time with those students, we help to develop those positive coping skills. You know what I mean? And so things like that.
So what do you see, like for you, getting into this position? This is your first job right out of grad school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for this being your first job, being, I'm sure like real excited to get this position. To get in the schools is a big thing. What was kind of like the most shocking or surprising aspect of doing this kind of work for you?
Well, for me, one, to just realize that, hey, like, I'm here. School is over. There's no grade no more. There's no grade. I don't have my teachers to support me. I'm my own professional. I'm working with so many other different professionals, whether it's school psychologist, school social worker. I'm working alongside the principal, the assistant principal. Sometimes even the superintendent comes to the school. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And so sometimes at first my head was spinning. A lot. A lot of nerves. Yeah. I'm sorry. I feel like I lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. I had asked you what was the most challenging thing, and surprising, you were just saying like just being there and having to kind of be like out on your own, actually doing this and not having that support you were used to kind of like, run things by professors or, classmates, things like that.
Yeah. And that's very true. But then also, like I said before, it's 30 of us, 30 mental health coordinators. A lot of us are social workers. A lot of my coworkers are licensed as well. So it was a great opportunity down the line that when I realized it, to kind of piggyback and also kind of like, have conversations on and to kind of like get more clinical, knowledge and things like that, kind of bounce ideas off of our colleagues head and things like that to see, hey, what can I do with this student? What can I do with that student? Like I said, this was my first year into the school system, and they've been in this and working in the field for about 10, 15 years. And so it was a great opportunity to learn from them, while serving and helping out and the students that I'm at in those 5 schools. Another big eye opener for me was just being in those communities, seeing the needs of those students, whether it's like you come to the schools and, I notice immediately notice a lot of poverty, things like that. Notice a lot of poverty. Notice a lot of when you're interacting with students and counseling and things like that. Maybe sometimes their level of, their academic level is not up to par, and so that kind of, in a sense, kind of makes it a little bit more difficult and more challenging, in a sense. When just doing things like OCBT and things like that, because you got to really kind of meet them where they're at. You know what I mean? You don't want to do nothing too complex. Sometimes you want to keep it simple, so that way the objective of that session can be obtained by the student, and we won't pass it over their head. So that was those were some eye openers. Yeah.
I think that's a really important point, to meet them where they're at. Have you found some new strategies, in this role that you've put into practice with students?
Well, I just want to say, like, my department does a great job with providing a lot of tools. Like, our department is amazing, right? So I feel I'll be remiss if I don't, give a shout out to the mental health services department of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, because, when we're interacting with kids, with our students, we need supplies, and our department provides those supplies. So if we have, we call it best practices, right? So we'll have like meetings, things like that, on what best practices can we use when interacting with students for, depression, anxiety, different other concerns students may be having, and they would get those little interventions and things like that, and we would use them when working with our students. And so those are big. Like, some of them are games, some of them are, things like that. Because we also want to keep it make it a little fun, so that way we can kind of keep their attention at the same time. But it definitely helps out when we have things that keep it fun, but also is our objective is not, in any way, shape, or form diminished, because we still want to provide that level of service, that mental health service component as well at the same time.
Absolutely. You're still meeting the goals that you set out, but you're doing it in a way that works for the students.
Right. And so it's awesome. It's awesome. Like I said, we do a lot of good within the school. It's just, every day I go, it's an amazing thing just to kind of like think about, hey, I was once a student within Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and now I'm kind of like, I am on the other side as a young professional, providing services to students that were just like me. You know what I mean? And so it's very impactful. Very impactful.
I'm glad you brought that up and that you went there, because, I like hearing people's stories of like how they got into this work. And that's part of what I try to get into on the podcast because when people are listening or, reading transcripts of the podcast, they can like connect, right? Like students who are listening now, or other social workers or educators, there's different ways we relate to each other through these stories, So since you already went there about, you were a student in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and now you're on this other side, could you kind of talk about some of your story, like into even just getting into social work and, how you came to be in this position?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, I don't mind. And so I definitely, I wanted to go into social work because I wanted to help out. I wanted to be that that level of care, that level of support for. At the time, I didn't know for who specifically, but I know I wanted to help out. I know I had the drive and the capacity to really assist people and to help out. And when I was younger, I had a social worker to help me when I was going through things in my life. And so I wanted to pass it down to whomever, I came across, whether it was in geriatrics, because I had a little experience in geriatrics, working with Kendra Hospice, working at my internship when I was at Miami-Dade County Juvenile Services Department, when I was at FIU for my bachelor's, my master's, working at Better Way of Miami. It was all great experiences that I was able to help out and assist. And that's why I wanted to get into social work. I wanted to get into social work because, and a lot of the students that I see myself in them, whether it's just so many concerns day to day that students now today go through. I remember in my interview, kind of going back to my interview when I was interviewing for the job, I was asked, why do you want to work in this profession? And, I told the director, I told her, I said, this level of support has never really been in the school system. And now it's here. I want to be a part of it. I remember, Stoneman Douglas occurred, but mental health concerns have always been around. We just haven't really paid a lot of attention to it. And, looking back when I was in high school or middle school, I had a lot of friends that had mental health concerns as well. But we didn't really know, it was kind of taboo. We didn't really know how to help them, who to go to, what to say. And then, as we got older, we went to school. I got my bachelor's, my master's. I got a lot of experience through practicum. And it just made it solid in my mind that, hey, like, I'm right where I need to be. And so, when I answered that question in my interview, it really just stood out to me like, yo, I made the right decision to be right here, within the school system, where my whole 12th, kindergarten to 12th, just going to school. And now I'm here providing services through elementary, middle school, high schoolers, mental health concerns. I'm there. I'm in the trenches every day. And so it's just, that's why I wanted to be in social work. I just want to help out. I have the heart for it. I got the drive for it. I'm passionate about it. That's it.
Yeah. And I know you worked incredibly hard to get to this point,
Oh man, definitely FIU, you guys, FIU, all of the professors in the social work department, you guys have been amazing. Amazing. And so I cannot thank you guys enough.
Well, you did the work, man. And it's seeing where you've gone and what you're doing is why, we do the work we do too. And, I was thinking about when you're talking about you see yourself in these kids, right? And that you went through those same schools yourself.
Yeah.
And then, you get taught oftentimes in social work classes, for example, it'll be talked about around like boundaries of like not sharing, not self-disclosing.
Mm.
And I was just wondering your thoughts on that and how you talk with the kids. Like, do you tell them like, hey, like I went to Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Like, does that come up?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes, like, I understand, like, we have definitely, within social work, we got to have our boundaries and things like that, for our relationship and things like that. But there have been times where, kind of a little bit of self-disclosure is okay. So, not too much self-disclosure, of course, but there are times where say like I would say, I wouldn't tell them specifically what school I went to, but like, hey, like I went to school within the school system, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, things like that, because I want to, early in the time that we meet together in initial sessions to develop that rapport, because it's so important. If that rapport isn't established, I'm wasting my time and the kid and the student's time, and it's just that level of rapport has to be established. You know what I mean? And so, it's just kind of like using your professional judgment in a lot of the situations that you're when you're interacting with students. Use your best professional judgment, and of course, just speaking to administration and things like that, making sure you don't overstep or do anything you shouldn't be doing. So that's kind of like my mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can imagine that a lot of these students, see you as a role model, especially when you let them know you went to the schools.
Mm-hmm.
But, like another thing, I know we've talked about it in the past, but just to put it on the podcast, you're a Black male social worker.
Yeah.
And I was even trying to decide like if I should bring that up, because if I'm interviewing a white male social worker, I don't always say, hey, you're a white male social worker. Like, what's that like, Although we might talk about that identity. I mean, sometimes we will, and I should actually. It shouldn't be different. Mm-hmm. But like, you and I have talked about it before, and I just think it's important, like, because the reality is there's not like a ton of Black male social workers.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like, what's that like for you? What's that experience like for you?
And you know what? I've noticed that, like, when I go to my schools, I don't see a lot of Black male social workers. I see a lot of social workers that happen to be women. You know what I mean? Kind of think of it. I don't think in all of my 5 schools, there aren't even one Black male social worker. We have had a lot of conversations about that, and just like the importance of, how much of an impact I can make within certain in my community. You know what I'm saying? Because one, I know my stuff. 2, I'm a Black male social worker. You know what I mean? I can reach a lot of individuals that need to be reached. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so how important my role is coming right out of college. And at first I was like, yeah, okay, I get you, I hear you. But it's not until you get into the field and you notice it and you be like, okay, wow, I see it. Because it's not a lot of Black male social workers within the school system from what I've seen. And I go to like trainings and things like that, where it's like you kind of mingle with different professionals, things like that. It's not that much. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. Males, I would say, but a lot of women, African American women, things like that. Yeah, you see a good amount, but male, nah, I wouldn't say that I've seen a lot. And so it just reminds me that my role is so important, and how much of an impact I can make, even as a young professional. I can make a big impact, and to really use that, and to really use that to my advantage, and be an advocate for change. You know what I mean? Be out there, speak up, and speak up, say what I need to say.
How do you think it impacts the work you're doing?
I think it impacts. Well, one, I know, like, a lot of times in certain communities, a lot of the communities that I work throughout, and the schools I work throughout, it's like an overtime and things like that. And so I think it definitely, it makes me more relatable and understanding of the certain economic situations that are going on in the community. Just understanding, like that culture component, those things like that. Culture, being culturally competent on a lot of things that are going on within the community. Like, in a sense, this is my community. I think I'm very knowledgeable about my community,
right?
And culture.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, and so it definitely helps out with, I think, parent interaction. Definitely helps out with rapport with students, things like that. It definitely helps out a lot. And so I'm not just interacting with students in the schools. Like, hey, I'm volunteering in my community. The students see me in the community, and so that definitely helps out as well.
Yeah, it's like you're from that community, and you're still there, and you got this you achieved this education and this skill set, and you're still there, able to bring it back and pass it on.
Mhm.
Just what you said your goal was, starting out.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm a male, so and a lot of students look up to me, and so in a lot of ways, definitely I am a role model. I didn't think about it too much because I'm just there working. I'm just, hey, you need my help, you need my help. I'm there. Whatever you guys need me, I'm there. But I didn't think about it too much. But to the lot of the students that I see on a daily basis, I am a role model, and I have to kind of remember that and have it in the forefront of my mind, because sometimes throughout the day I can kind of get so much other things are going on in my mind, with a lot of students, and so. But definitely, I am a role model.
I just want to ask you something because we've never talked about this. When you're in social work classes, right?
Hmm.
And the way like marginalized communities are being discussed, right? And taught about. Were you ever like, wait a second, like, hold up, like, this isn't how it is, or like, this isn't what the community's really like, or did it ever feel, you know, like it was not an accurate or not given like the full picture type of thing?
Like they're telling not the full story about certain communities.
Yeah.
Um, those things I never really, honestly, I don't really look. It's hard, but sometimes like I've noticed that. I've noticed that because naturally, when I first got the job, and then I got my 5 schools, and majority of my schools are in the Overtown area. Um, when they think about Overtown, some people think about other things about Overtown, not so good, like drugs and things like that. Just a lot of homelessness in those areas. There's a lot of positives in Overtown, and so I can definitely see how that can be. And I think sometimes it is like that. It is like that where um, a lot of individuals don't tell the full story of certain communities, certain marginalized communities. And but I don't really pay too much attention to that because I gain my own understanding of things, because I don't want to have other people's views imposed on me. You know what I mean? Because I'm in that community. I see what's going on within the schools. I see those students. I see those kids. I'm interacting with the principals. I'm interacting with all the helping professionals within those 5 schools. I'm volunteering in that community, in those communities. I see what's going on. So I don't really pay attention to everything that someone will say negatively about that community. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of things that are said negatively about that community. You know what I'm saying? Um, I don't really pay too much attention to it. Um, yeah, unless it's like gentrification and stuff like that. Like then I'll kind of like get focused on that, because that is what's happening in the community for sure.
Right. Like we definitely should be talking about the very real forces that are oppressing people and holding them back from being able
Mhm.
to just be who they are and, survive first of all, but then the fact that they even have to survive, right? That they can't just like thrive,
Mhm.
if there wasn't these forces pushing down. But like, do you want to share some of the positives that you see, um, that you see like in your work and that you see in the community?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the schools I work are in the Overtown area, and one I know that they're one like they may have like a someone may say that, hey, maybe parent involvement isn't as high, I guess, as other schools. Um, and to some extent, I understand why they say that, because when they have certain things in the community, like involving education, they are not as likely to come out and to participate. But you got to understand why. It's always a why. And when you understand why, you understand that family, right? When you understand why that family does what they do, you gain a better understanding of that family. And so a lot of times in those communities, those individuals are searching for jobs. Those individuals don't have transportation. It's a lot of different financial stressors and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Um, And so, but some of the positives is that parents, they are serious and they are trying their best to assist their students with helping the students out with their education. You know, someone may say, hey, like those families don't take their education serious. No, I beg to differ. Like, I think every parent definitely has a high level of invested, means of, hey, I want my son or I want my daughter to have the best education. I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that he or she gets that. I don't think that's the case. There are other situations, like some of the things that I named, um, like, financial situation, financial transportation is a big one. I was searching for jobs because at the end of the day, they had to pay bills. Bill have to be paid. A lot of economical concerns are out there, but the concern regarding the their children's level of education is there. They care about their education. Someone would say, "Oh, they're not as to or caring about that." I would say that's not. I wouldn't say that's a lie. I wouldn't say that. You know, it's always stigma and things like that out there. But it's definitely a lot of positives. It's definitely. I will say that individuals that are saying that, go to that community and be involved in that community. Interact with those individuals, ask questions, go to that community and just go. Don't just say or just hear what other people tell you. Go out in that community and see for yourself. You know what I mean? Then get an idea of what's going on. Don't just listen to other people and then that's the end all be all, because a lot of times that's not the truth. So that's one of the big ones that I would like to say about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're getting close to wrapping things up, so I want to give you an opportunity to just kind of talk about whatever you want to talk about on here in regards to what you do, social work, schools, whatever. The platform is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I just want to say, Shimon, it was a great opportunity to be here. This is my first podcast ever. I was a little nervous, but I think I did okay.
For sure.
With my department, mental health services, something I kind of don't want to forget to mention is that we are contracted with about, I think, 20 community-based agencies. And so when we're providing services that are a higher level of care, so let's say, for example, if a student was referred to me for concerns with depression, and we're working on things to kind of help counteract and to kind of manage those levels of depression, but it's getting to a point where it's that, hey, a day session is not good enough. We make referrals to those community-based agencies. Everything is free. Services are free. Those services are free. Parents don't pay anything. And so some of the services that are provided are from family therapy, individual therapy, a mental health evaluation. A lot of those services are being provided to students every single day, and they're being followed up on. Their therapists from like Citrus, New Horizons, Chrysalis are coming out into communities, going home and things like going to the students' homes and having those sessions and really working with these students to really provide that level of service. That's also my department has a parent assistance line, which is 305-995-7100. And this number is operational Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to assist students and their families with mental health support. And so from with that being said, I wanted to offer that. I didn't want to forget that because, it's very, very important to have that level of support for our students within Miami-Dade County Public Schools. And hopefully our goal within our department is to have at least one mental health coordinator at every school throughout Miami-Dade County Public Schools. That's a goal of ours. We're reaching for it and we will achieve it, so very, very soon. So that's my closing remarks. Yeah.
Well, Tre, thanks so much for coming on here, taking the time, sharing about what you do, sharing how you got into this work. And thanks so much for doing the work in the community.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I like I said, I really appreciate it. Anytime I can be involved, give back, or anything like that involving social work, involving helping out, I'm down for it. Sign me up. Put me on whatever. I'm there because I told myself if I ever get in a position where I can provide support, help out any way, shape, or form involving social work, I'm there. I want to be there. I might be a little nervous, but the heart's there. The heart's in the right place, and sometimes that's just kind of getting you started, and you can move forward with that. So definitely, I'm here. I'm just helping out. I got a long career. I just got started in the field of social work, so more positive things to come. One last thing, I almost forgot. So another thing, our department is really good at providing. I remember in our classes we talked about trainings and professional development. Our department, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, are great at providing professional development. We've been trained in restorative justice, youth mental health first aid. I can train individuals in youth mental health first aid. We have so many trainings, like it's ridiculous. And so I think it's great because we're adding to our repertoire. I'm adding to my repertoire as a young professional, that even if I leave the school system, I can take that knowledge and those accolades and those trainings with me to other places. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so I think last year we trained, I think it was on the news, we trained bus drivers with youth mental health first aid. And so I never thought in my million years that I would be teaching a class. It was like a 6-hour class. You know how I'm learning a lot. I'm gaining a lot of experience, a lot of teaching experience. It's a great experience, and I'm enjoying it. It's stressful, but I'm enjoying it. Self-care is very important. I gotta practice self-care because that self-care is serious. It's definitely serious.
Yeah, we need you to be doing this work for a long time.
I know I intend to, for sure, but without self-care, it's gonna shorten that a little bit. But you guys have taught me in school to really not neglect self-care and to really take your time. And I think the school system is really good with taking off and things like that. I have like personal days, vacation days, sick days, and things like that. So I'm using them. Definitely, I'm using them for sure. But it's all important because if I'm not 100%, how can I give myself to those students? How can I provide the best level of care to those students? And I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss anything because mental health is so serious. So many students have had a lot of concerns. Heck, even have died regarding mental health concerns. And so I never want to be that that professional that missed something. I understand we're not perfect as professionals, but if it's something that I can prevent, I will do my best to prevent it. And so, self-care is very important. So I think that's everything, though. I think that's everything. I definitely didn't want to forget that either. I think that's everything.
Yeah, I'm glad you added all that stuff, and thanks again for coming on here.
For sure. Thank you for having me again. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Doing the Work, Frontline Stories of Social Change. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please follow on Twitter and leave positive reviews on iTunes. If you're interested in being a guest or know someone who's doing great work, please get in touch. And thank you for doing real work to make this world a better place.